Hello, everybody. I'm Bojan Stanislavski. I am your host, and this is your favorite Eastern European political show on the barricades. Today, it's a special edition. Normally, we do our live streaming at the end of the week on every Sunday, but we thought we want to bring some comments and some insights into the recent Romanian parliamentary election, and we have an expert in Romanian affairs. Her name is Maria Cernat, and she's usually the co-host of this show. But today, she's going to be more of an expert, more of a guest. And Maria, please put us in picture. Tell us what actually happened and what are the results, and what is your take on this, well, important political moment. Although on the other hand, I read some comments and I saw the results, and I also followed what I was able to follow in the international press regarding the Romanian elections, and the Social Democrats have won. But then it looks like so much had to change in order for everything to stay the same way, isn't it?
Well, of course, but there are some surprises. Well, first of all, let us talk about the fact that this is a record low in terms of how many people voted. We have only 31% of Romanians that expressed their political options on December 6th, when we had the elections for the Romanian Parliament. Then you have to take that into consideration, because in 2012, actually, we had 40% of the Romanians coming and expressing their options and voting. And we also have in 2008, 39%, 39.6% of Romanians voting. So you see here that almost 10% of the Romanians did not show up. And this tells you something. We had on December 1st a record number of infections, 5,500 cases, and 148 people died that day. And it's been pretty much the same in terms of infections and number of people dying. And there are speculations that we only have 5,500 people turning out to be infected, because the government somehow reduced the testing capacity in order to show us that there is nothing to be afraid of. Therefore, a cynical interest. I think this is part of the reason why people did not show up, and part of the reason why the liberals got a very poor result. Let me explain why. Now, we have three major political parties. We have the National Liberals, we have the Social Democrats, and Union Save Romania. Now, the Social Democrats won 29.6% of the parliamentary seats this time around, and the National Liberals only got about 25% of the seats. They got, and the result was so poor for a number of reasons that I'm going to discuss later on. Now, Union Save Romania, a party that managed to get over 20% of the votes on the last elections, are now only at 15% of the votes. And these are the numbers. We have a big surprise, right. An unpleasant surprise. For the first time in Romania, an extreme right political party, the Alliance for the Unity of Romanians, got almost 9% of the votes.
That's the gold thing, right?
Yes. Let me explain. AUR, that means the letters, that form the
abbreviation
name of the acronym of the political party, means gold in Romanian. So a catchy title for a very interesting party that we are going to discuss. And what is also important, the Party of the Popular Movement, the one that was managed by the former President Traian Băsescu, didn't make it because we have a 5% threshold that all political parties have to pass in order to enter the parliament. And also Pro-Romania, the party of the ex-Prime Minister Victor Ponta, did not make it to the parliament because they were not able to pass this threshold of 5%. Now, let us take it step by step. First of all, let us see who the actors are. Now, the Social Democrats, doesn't it sound...
Right. Can I just stop you just for a while, because I want to make sure that I'm getting like the picture clear. So the Social Democrats got roughly 30% of the votes. Then the National Liberals, which is the dominating right-wing force, they got 25%. And then there is this surprising, well, surprising to an extent, I guess, in a way that like some people probably predicted that they're going to gain force. This pathetic, or like whatever, dangerous formation, right-wing extremist with a pathetic name or acronym, GOLD, right? And that's what it looks like. That's what the parliament's going to more or less look like, right?
This is exactly it. Now, I want to discuss a little bit about the actors. And I actually read their political platform, because in Romania, we have this tendency, and it's all over the place. I mean, the political program is just some document that maybe just some weirdos like me bother to read, because nobody is actually taking it into account. But they are very important documents to be taken into account. Let me explain why.
Right.
Well, here you can see that you have the Social Democrats, and you might think these are socialist people, but you see, it is true, as I told you many times, and this is also true this time around, that they promise to raise wages, they promise to raise pensions, and they promise to raise child allowance, and basically to give us some money. Now, what is the problem? The problem, first of all, is that they are not taking into account equity and fairness, meaning that in Romanian public institutions, we have huge inequality. That is, you may have some, in a university, for instance, you may have something at the bottom of the hierarchy who earns only 400 euros, while you may have somebody at the top of the hierarchy winning like 4,000 euros. What does it mean when you say you raise wages? Every time the Social Democrats raised wages, they did it the following way. They raised by 10% for everybody. But that would mean that the rector would get like 400 euros and you at the bottom of the hierarchy will only get 40. Okay, sure. So that's a huge problem. They never take into account the inequality that exists, and they're raising the salaries only, amplifies and keep it where it is. Now, these are the Social Democrats. They also want to use, because you see, this is a very important topic that nobody wants to challenge, the financing mechanism of the European Union. Nobody wants to tackle this issue. I mean, the money in the European Union in Romania is some sort of mythical force. It's like a fountain, where Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen goes with a bucket and takes money and gives it to us. This is the mental representation of how the European Union funds function. And this is
sounds familiar.
Fairy tale. Actually, we have money from the European Union because we contribute with money. And then we have to take it back by projects and by interesting, mechanisms, somehow making rich some very important consultancy firms that help us write the projects, and we know the drill. But what the Social Democrats, instead of confronting directly this problem, instead of doing that, they are trying to say, look, we are going to build a strategic fund. A strategic fund, that is, we are going to take some money from taxes, we are going to take some money from the European Union, and we are going to have a fund in order to make investments where we want. Okay, interesting, but why don't you go for progressive taxation? You know, the Social Democrats are these people that want to do well by everybody. They don't want to upset the people, you know, the working class, nor the employers. They want to have it both ways. And in the end, this lack of ideological consistency is going to cost them a lot. Now, the liberals, the national liberals are interesting, and I'm not talking now about how they manage the corona crisis. I'm talking about the political party. The political party is the following: socialism for entrepreneurs, and to be more precise, for small and medium businesses, and liberalism for the citizens. It is true, they discussed the fact that they are going to raise the medium wage and the medium pension. And I remember the joke you told once about the statistician that drowned in a river that was 1 meter in depth, because this is how
1
things
meter on average, right?
Of course, because this is how it works. I mean, I just wrote the first part of an article about Romanian elections, and I read some articles, and it is very interesting that, in fact, only 13% of the working contracts are above the medium wage. 42% of the contracts are below the medium wage. So you see that raising the medium wage is not really, because you may have some people at the top gaining more, and that would automatically raise the medium wage. You can do that artificially. You could take into account the median wage, that is the salary, and you take into account what is in the middle of the hierarchy. You take the extremes away, and then you may have a clearer picture, but they are not talking about that. They are talking about raising the medium pension. The medium pension in Romania, you know, it would be only 400 euros, just to have an impression and on how things are. But then they talk about something very interesting, and that is how much money they are going to give to small and medium businesses, like billions of euros are going to be distributed to these small and medium businesses. It is unbelievable. I mean, you would have expected the invisible hand to work here and not the government. This invisible hand, I think, is dying right now. And the free market economists, I mean, they must be overwhelmed with all this socialism. I mean, how come you are giving so much money for these enterprises, and basically those who work in tourism, those who work in restaurants, and so on and so forth, because they want to support basically these industries. So this is mainly their political program.
Right.
Liberals.
Socialism for the rich. That's there.
Socialism for the rich, okay? Now, we have Union Save Romania. Union Save Romania has the most populist, even though I don't like the word, because the word was initially used with a different meaning, but let's say populist for the sake of the argument. They have the most populist platform. If you look at their title, the title of their political program, you would believe that they are running for some sort of I don't know, DA's office, or they want to become police officers or something like that, because they want to get rid of the thieves in Romania. This is actually what they say. And the literal translation of their program would be a Romania without theft. This is their idea of progress. So anti-corruption and privatize everything. This is basically what they say. And they talk about the right to choose healthcare and education, meaning that they want to support private hospitals. We already have a law in Romania saying that if you are the owner of a private school, you may just as well take money from the budget for the children. Let me explain how it functions. So let's say the Romanian government spends like 5,000 euros to educate a child in a year, okay? But that child, I mean, it's his or her parents decide to decide that their child should be enrolled in a private school. It would mean that the 5,000 euros that the government spends to educate that child will be directly given to the owner of the private school. This is how it works. And now they want to do, you see, this is like theft, but with a very nice touch and a very glamorous, you know, package.
That's looting the public money. That's looting the public, whatever.
Of course, I mean, and they sell this, telling you that, look, this is, how do they call it? The right to choose. I mean, the parents should be given the right to choose, and the patient should be given the right to choose. If the patient wants to go to a private hospital, the state has to pay. I mean, I wouldn't go into the details. I wrote an article of how absurd this idea is, that you have some common money and then you suddenly decide to take your part, that is the medium part. Maybe you are poor and you contributed with nothing, and now you take the money, okay, and you go to a private institution. Now the bigger problem here would be that the private institutions actually select their clientele, and if you are old and poor, they are going to send you to a public institution, and they are going to treat only those who are young and healthy, and that would bring them a lot of money. And this is the surest and the safest way to destroy public health. This is used in Romania.
Yeah, but before you go over, sorry to interrupt you, but before you go over to you know, to this crazy right-wing sect that got into the parliament, I just want to briefly summarize on, you know, the most important points, at least, that you have made, in order just, you know, for our viewers and for myself, honestly, to make it clear. Because from what I gather, we've got like these three actors, main actors: Social Democrats, National Liberals, and Union Save Romania. And the Union Save Romania, they seem to be the most ridiculous of all, from what you're saying, because they are they kind of believe their own propaganda, and they are these sort of, they are, you know, the true believers. Like, they really think that everything has to go private, that, you know, the rich and the powerful, the so-called entrepreneurs, they have to be subsidized all the time because they are the, you know, somehow the most valuable people in society, and the state is only matters when it takes care of them, and the other people, they just have to be there for the employers, for the business, for the entrepreneurs to use them as tools, because otherwise they are worthless. And the only, like, it seems like the entrepreneurship is like the only point of reference in terms of any kind of value, moral, social, cultural, and stuff like that. And, you know, to me, that's why I wrote in the introductory text of our program today that, you know, the Romanian establishment, or at least part of it, they seem to be rocking it like it's 1995. Like, you know, they never somehow departed from that year, and they are still in their own neoliberal perpetuum mobile. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I get their program in a way that socialism for the rich, everything for the rich, and the kind of fake fake choice. I mean, this kind of liberal utopia that everybody has a choice, that everybody has an equal start, everything is equal for the moment we are born, and then our faith. Our fate, is really the kind of result of the multiplication or other mathematical actions regarding our choices and our views. So and when they say that you're going to have a choice whether you're going to go to a private school or whether you're going to go to a public school, then this is something only for the public to consume, and the public is supposed to chew on the fact that someone is choosing or isn't choosing, or what the choice is. But the only choice here is the choice in favor of the capital, because what this mechanism that you just described, and it sounds very familiar. I mean, it's present in Poland, for example. I mean, not regarding the private schools, but regarding private hospitals. So you can just open a hospital and start consuming public money. And what I'm trying to say is that this is just direct transfer of money, direct transfer of public money into private pockets. And this has to be forbidden. I mean, this has to stop once and for good, because this is no entrepreneurship. Okay, like when you just rent out a building, open a hospital, hire some personnel, and then start consuming public money. Then the national liberals, that's like to me they kind of remind me of the civic platform in Poland, because when everything you told me that particularly their focus on the EU financing, is this the right comparison? Do you think it's the right comparison? Like, they like this ethos of the European Union, this ethos of the West. It's like, but in fact, they don't.
Yes and no. Yes, they like it, but they also had a leader. Oh, I see that Petru Horatiu wrote something here about we are going to discuss that in a moment.
All right.
The liberals, well, they have their fair part or a share of the nationalist discourses, because they have a leader that was TV, how do you call that? Showman, and Raresh Bogdan, and he wrote about the Romanians, and he had this very nationalistic, rhetorical, crazy.
Yeah, okay. So I get it.
But of course, they are pro-business. They are pro-business. They want to privatize, and they want to support basically the medium and small businesses and the corporation, and this is their goal. And as I told you, we have 30% of Romanian children living in deep poverty, and the liberals chose to support those who own stores in malls, and that tells everything.
Okay, so I get this. Then I just want to briefly summarize the question of about the social, the issue around the Social Democrats, because you said something like, they don't really understand certain things in a way that they have this intuitive, maybe, or I don't know where it comes from. Is it their intuition or something else, or they really want to flirt with the working class, or with the people that are poor and somehow vulnerable in the society, because they feel that is their only base. But then, the one thing that you didn't mention, but it popped out many times during our conversation, is that they are pretty conservative in a way that they don't quite understand, progressive politics and stuff like this. And they are ridiculously conservative sometimes. And, what I'm just thinking, please tell me if it's true, that in Romanian politics, one of the reasons why you cannot vote the assholes out is that everything comes at a price. Like, on the one hand, you can have some support for the working class, in a distorted manner, but it could be delivered by the Social Democrats for the working class, for the unemployed, whatever, for the vulnerable, for the people who are vulnerable economically. But it comes with all this conservative, weird burden. Okay. Then on the other hand, you could have something like some kind of liberal approach in terms of social cultural issues, like the Union Save Romania, maybe. But then, the price for that would be rampant libertarianism, like, abolish the taxes, abolish the state, or if there is a state that is only for the business.
Of course, this is exactly the case, and we've been discussing these things all over and over again. Now, as I always say, because I'm a pessimist, things can only go from bad to worse. And this is what happened right now, because we were so accustomed with this game. I mean, the Social Democrats gave you some money, and it is important because they raised the wages for the doctors, because we had a lot of doctors that were leaving Romania and they were going to work abroad. So they basically raised the wages, and this is a very good thing, because now we have the pandemics, and it's a very good thing that we have.
You have some doctors. Wow, good.
Yeah. So they did some very important social measures, but at the same time, they have this horrible partnership with those who now form this gold party, this Alliance for the Union of Romania.
Yeah, please tell us about them. Right.
Basically organized the referendum for the families. So you don't know what to believe. They are a party, the catch-all party, and they are completely unpredictable in terms of, cultural values and things like that. And as I told you, they don't want to go too far left. They don't want progressive taxation or tax justice, because they are also very in-depth to. And they are closely related to those who are making a lot of money by evading taxes. So this has to be said, that the Social Democrats are the ones that gave the most spectacular corruption scandals in Romania. We have a former prime minister that went to jail. He was a Social Democrat, and a lot of people, and Dragna, the former president of the party of the Social Democrats, that is currently in jail. So things are very complicated with this party. But let us now move towards the most interesting part. It was a huge surprise, even for me and for a lot of us, and also a slap in the face, I would say. We weren't paying attention. We weren't careful enough. We weren't listening to people, and this is what happened. I mean, I don't know how these people that formed their political party last year managed in just 1 year to pass this threshold of 5% and to actually gain almost 9% of the votes.
So they inspired people somehow.
Yes, they inspired people. And I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it's
how about you begin? How about you begin with the fact, like, perhaps you could just tell us a few words about the very party, like who is their leader, what are their beliefs, in a way that I understand that
yes,
they're right-wing extremists. Ridiculous that they became a mainstream political force, but we would like to get a glimpse of their craziness.
Okay, I will just start, just to keep track at what we've discussed, because we discussed the political parties. Now I am going to read to you some of the phrases from their political party. Okay, the country is the land of the father, and the native language is the language your mother speaks. I kid you not. This is from their political program.
But I don't understand. Are you a multi-language, multicultural country, or like what's
no? They are basing their political program on 4 elements. It's like Captain Planet here: the family, the country, the faith, and liberty. And they go on and saying in the just at the beginning of their political party. And I'm trying to translate it as literal as possible. Yeah. The family is the basic cell of any viable society. The Hours Doctrine considers the gender ideology a theoretical aberration that descends from the dark chambers of the neo-Marxist activists. The marriage cannot have as primordial formula something other than the pair formed by a man and a woman. Any other option of bringing the sexes together has nothing to do with the authentic sense of this formula.
Okay, I want to ask something here because sorry, I mean, is this really the biggest problem of Romania right now? That there are so many gay couples that want to go and get married that the Romanian state has to defend itself against it.
Yeah. We have to protect the family because any other option of bringing the sexes together, I mean, they literally wrote that, okay, has nothing to do with the authentic sense of this formula. So you basically have a bringing of sexes together that is not authentic.
Yes.
Okay? This is why in the vision of Alliance for the Unity of Romania, the family is a non-negotiable theme. It is not a problem to be solved. It was solved long ago. Mm-hmm. And before we appeared, and we are the generation whose indignation led to the current formation of the alliance.
Let me just get it straight. The problem has been solved long ago, but yet we still make sure that everybody understands that it was solved. So we just bring it up like completely accidentally here. Okay, that sounds like
this is, I kid you not. This forum, you have the authentic bringing together of sexes and the unauthentic one, and I cannot.
That's a new philosophical notion, like the synthetic bringing of sexes together.
I mean, I cannot believe that, in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of an economic crisis, Boyan, we are basically discussing and we are talking about sex here, okay?
And we're talking about a problem that has been solved a long time ago, by the way, right? According to this thing.
Yes, of course, it's been solved. And it is only in the dark chambers of the neo-Marxists that the problem.
That's where we are. That's where we are. Yeah. Like this is one dark chamber of neo-Marxism, right? Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you. Perhaps people voted because that was a joke. Perhaps that was a joke. Like people voted. They were joking. They were trying to, I don't know, show their middle finger to the establishment.
But they have like some important supporters. Now, let me now discuss, because this is a very interesting topic, the leaders of that political party. The first one is Mr. George Simion. Now, Mr. George Simion founded Honor e Patria, honor and nationalism, or I don't know how to translate it, or united under the flag. And actually, in 2015, he was expelled from Moldova because he participated in all sorts of events there that made the government expel him and consider him a national threat. He was not allowed to enter Moldova for 5 years. He is he was the head of the supporters of the national football team, and he was the one that opposed international football players from entering our sacred national team because somehow it is not working for them. So they are basically fighting this capitalist mode of making business out of football by appealing to the most and dearest national values.
Now, yeah, but also it sounds like the Romanian football team, the national team, they've made, I don't know, they are world champions or something, and they are afraid that if other type of non-Romanian blood invades the team, they're going to go get downgraded or what? Like I've never heard of Romanian football being like,
don't get it. It is better to be lost in terms of football, but to keep your national identity instead of being the first, but allowing foreign blood to,
Okay, well, that's a serious matter. I can see that's really.
Yes, and he also went with a bunch of other guys in a village, and they beat up some Hungarian people because they wanted to celebrate the Romanian heroes that were buried in some cemetery in the western part of the country. And he posed as the great hero that defended our national honor against the Hungarians. And you could see that they have 9%. Now the Hungarians have their own party and they have 6%. And I could only imagine them sitting in the parliament next to each other, but there is a solution. I mean, Dacian, I think it's his name, Matias, or something like this. He is the representative of AUR in Germany, and he posed, I mean, I sent you the picture with 2 axes, not one, on his shoulder, saying that something about Christ. I mean, Christianity and the axes go together so well.
I'm sure they are.
And you know, they have this solution right now. It was all over the media because you cannot make these things up. I mean, he appears like a gentle, you know, person having a T-shirt with Aloha Beaches written.
Okay, so just let me just ask you this. I mean, this guy, you know, their leader, Georgia, whatever, Simeon. I'm sorry, I got very bad names, right? Okay, so he's crazy. Like he's some sort of nutcase. I mean, like he walks around with this with stupid T-shirts, axes on his shoulders.
No,
you know,
this is another one. This is another one.
The other one. I'm sorry. So I got confused. Okay, right.
This is a leader of a smaller group of the party, you know.
Okay.
This is one of those. Now we have also Claudiu Richard Târziu. I mean, in Romanian, this name.
Is this a nickname?
Yes, Claudiu Richard Târziu. So this is his name. I call him Claudiu Richard cel Târziu. That would mean the late. Târziu means late, you know.
Right.
And he's also a huge fan of the national anthem and our national values, and supports the referendum for the family and wants to defend the family, another family defender. I mean, you would say that the family in Romania has so many defenders, it should be like, you know, no domestic violence.
Yeah, only no one wants to defend the families in Romania from neoliberalism and capitalism that's been ruining the families in Romania for the last decade.
No,
that's not a problem. This is not like an easy.
No. Gay people are the problem, and let me explain another interesting thing, because they are not only protecting this from domestic violence either. They have a member in their party, this Gold Party, Ioan Mihai Lasca, who comes from Bihor, the western part of the country, and he's been trialed in 2 cases and even convicted for hitting somebody. I don't know whether it was his girlfriend or not, but it seems like it. No, it was, he beat up the lover of his ex-girlfriend, actually, and he was convicted in this criminal investigation. And then he was arrested because he basically formed a criminal group that was stealing from ATMs. So they are going to make a good partnership with Union Save Romania that wants to save Romania from the thieves. And they are going to meet up there, and it's going to be excellent. I mean, the one with the axes on his shoulders, this fellow that was investigated and still investigated for stealing from ATMs. And what more? Oh, we have another 2 fellows here, because this is a very interesting combination. We have General Chelaru, because a lot of the people from the army are thrilled, you know, with this party, because they feel that finally our nation has a voice and it is defended against those corrupt elites in Brussels. And now we finally find our voice in the fighting with the corrupt elites that nothing has to do with economy. Okay, the corrupt elites are just with the gays, with the gay people, not with economy. Just to make sure.
Of course,
Okay.
yeah. It's
So
it's
this
your
is
sexuality that corrupts you, not like the money that is.
of course, of course, of course. And this Mr. Chelaru, he was actually the head of the army here in Romania, and he's absolutely crazy. I mean, I saw him personally in a conference. He has this psychopathic idea that we come from the Dax, a tribe here that was the noble tribe that is responsible for spreading the civilization all over the world, even
I'm sure
in
the first
Japan.
dinosaur was also Romanian.
This is unbelievable. I cannot believe I'm telling you this, but this is the true thing, I mean, this pandemic and this crisis brought up from
Yeah,
who
the
knows
most
where
crazy elements in people.
the most crazy elements, and this is one of them. And there is also another, General Dogaru. This one is a little bit more intelligent, and he's not as crazy as the first one. I mean, he keeps it together, but he's close to Russia. And let me tell you, just an overall assessment, a speculation here. I'm the first to be very skeptical about Russia interfering and forming, but this is like the perfect pet project for the Russians. I don't know if they invested in it or whether it was formed spontaneously, but this is exactly the type of extremist organization bringing together the most toxic elements in the society and using this to disbalance, everybody, and to promote a very, very aggressive and toxic message. I mean, I don't know if it's, there's a word in French. If it's not, if they did not finance it, it sure looks like it. I mean, it looks exactly how the Western media would describe such a project. I don't know if they were involved or not, but I'm positive that there are people from the Romanian Army because they declare, and this is common knowledge, there are people from the Orthodox Church because they made a huge scandal that this is a medical dictatorship, that they are forced to wear masks and they want to go because in the house of God, nothing can happen. COVID does not go in the house of God.
Yeah,
and you can go into the house of God without wearing a mask.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Look, I mean, everything you just said so far sounds pretty ridiculous. Like, I don't really want to comment on the question whether Russia's involved in any way. Like, personally, as you know, and as our viewers probably
I would
know,
also think that besides, because there is certainly some foreign interference, or there is this philo-Russia sentiment in the military elites that are in this party, but we also have our other major political power, the US, because this referendum for the family was geared and was organized with the help of the neo-Protestants that are heavily funded from the United States. This is the perfect toxic combination between a pro-Russian military elite and the neo-Protestant and neo-Protestant groups supporting the family, basically. This is the...
Okay. So, like, honestly speaking, I'm kind of losing track a little bit after everything you've said about this party, because on the one hand, like, just to close down the question of, Russian potential or interference and stuff like that, I want to say that, my skepticism stems out from the fact that I've done some, substantial research regarding money invested in internal political processes in various countries in Europe. And, all the available information actually points to the United States, and particularly to this Christian fascist circles that have got a lot of political power. And most of all, they are very, very wealthy. And, there's like, there's a lot of literature really in the internet or, in printed form that you can read about how many, dozens of millions of dollars every year go into this kind of support or even establishment sometimes of right-wing sects that are afterwards gaining momentum and start playing role in in politics. And it's not only in the East. I mean, not only in Eastern Europe. For example, the most recent project, the one led by Steve Bannon,
Yes, we have here Petru Horatiu said that our is Braveheart.
Right. So, and I'm not quite sure how is this like pro-Russian sentiment in some army,
Let me explain how it is. They believe that Vladimir Putin is a true nationalist, defending its country from the gays and morally bankrupt elites from Brussels and so on and so forth. So he's
definitely Russia is thriving because gay people don't have rights. That's absolutely
exactly.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. So, but then in fact, like, let's just try and like, as ridiculous as it is, let's just try and summarize it in a serious manner, because okay, this is a sect, this is a joke, this is a bad joke. These are obviously the leaders of that group are a bunch of crazy people. And I'm sorry, like, I don't want to, offend anyone with psychological issues and stuff like this, but this is like obviously crazy. I mean, these people are out of their mind. And I mean, those that you described, and we're talking about leaders here, right? So I don't know what the membership is.
Oh, but we have another one I forget about, and let me explain. Sorin Lavric. He was also my professor at the Faculty of Philosophy a number of years.
These people are in the army, these people are in the academia, these people are like everywhere, and they are all crazy. I mean, this is, this is the effect of neoliberalism. 30 years of neoliberalism, that's where it gets you. Like, you get the population so derailed mentally, culturally, economically, all kinds of ways, that they are prepared to vote for these sort of people. Like in America, they voted for this, con artist and like a complete moron. I'm talking about their current president, Donald Trump. And here, they're doing, and they're equally dangerous. That's what it seems like. At least that's.
Yeah, this Sorin Lavric wrote a book like A Woman in a Nutshell or something like that.
And A Woman in a Nutshell.
The Woman in a Nutshell, yes. And he discusses there how women, I mean, the misogyny, the blatant, disgusting misogyny is unbelievable. I mean, he even says that they are disgusting because they paint their nails, and they are disgusting because they go to gynecology. They are disgusting because they could never be smart. I mean, and he literally says that,
Yeah. We've got a politician in Poland who says things like that as well. And
he was actually my professor, and back then he was not that crazy, or at least he was not that vocal about it. But I want to say something here. It is important because these people are the result of 30 years of this type of right-wing ideology, because Gabriel Liceanu, who is the founder and the manager of one of the most important publishing house here in Romania, Humanitas, supported this type of discourse, supported Sorin Lavric, who was his teaching assistant when I was a student, okay? So they were very close. And they have this system that only if you were smart enough, you would get to talk to Gabriel Liceanu. If not, you would only get to talk to Sorin Lavric, now the current leader of this political party, a member of our parliament, So this is basically, I mean, I think this is also our fault, because we were not able to see how many disenfranchised people are around us. And let me explain that there are young people that vote for this political party. The main profile is young, are mostly men, of course, and their age is between 18 and 30. So they are very young men that vote for this political party, and basically from Moldova, a region called Dobroja, and only 2 districts from the western part of the country.
Okay. So look, I want to ask, why do you think they are inspiring? Because I'm like, my feeling is, okay, after hearing everything you just said, is that the path really towards the disaster is similar, okay, in terms of quality. In a way, the qualitative way to disaster from 1989 for all our for the entire region is pretty similar, but it just has this quantitative difference, which translates to kind of local nuance and how ridiculous things are going to be. Because when you look throughout the region, things are really pretty similar. We ended up 30 years after the so-called revolution. I mean, I think it should be called counter-revolution, really, but that's a different matter. In 1989, we had this. We ended up pretty much in the same way. Like when you look at Poland, right-wing Catholic fundamentalist, ridiculous, authoritarian regime. When you look to, Hungary, same thing, even worse. Okay, now with this scandal with Joseph Sayer that we discussed a couple of days ago, this is, super ridiculous. I mean, this is just pathetic. Then, you go to Bulgaria and you see this gangster who's in power, who's been in power for the last 15 years or a little less than that, who's an absolute moron. He's got no intellect, no philosophy, no ideology, no nothing really, no capacity to be any kind of leader. Let alone be a kind of statesman. But for some reason he's liked in the European Union, so he's there. I'm talking about Boyko Borisov, the Prime Minister of Bulgaria. And then we go to Romania, and we have these people that are stuck in 1995 or 1997 that cannot go anywhere beyond that. And the sort of the stronger they hold on to this neoliberal failing, bankrupting idea, the more ridiculous and the more evil, the kind of the liquid that or the smell that this wound produces is, and that's the result of it. I mean, this is how it all gets rotten. It goes down. It gets down to this right-wing sect, Gold, right? That is just a bunch of crazy people who are obsessed with some kind of, and literally like psychologically obsessed with some phantasms, like, gay people, endangered family, gender ideology, or some kind of Russian whatever, like, they're weird ideas about Russia and how things are in Russia and so on and so forth. And this is just, your own way. I mean, I think you said it once that there is a saying in Romanian that every bird dies singing their own song. And this is your song. Your song is terribly ridiculous. I mean, it's sometimes funny, but it's really pathetic when you look at it. And, our song, like in Poland, is Kaczynski. It's also pathetic. It's dangerous. It's so destructive because the last 6 years is just a huge wave of destruction of social bonds, of the social fabric, of the institutions, and so on and so forth. And I think our party, they also have that capacity. Like, give them some time and give them a little more power, and you will see what kind of disaster is gonna, kind of.
They are the most dangerous forces, and the only hope, unfortunately, does not come from the left. The left is not being able to come up with a solid critical analysis, with an articulate analysis. They are running for the funds and for the funds that the Norwegians are throwing at us. I told you, we are now building the queer. I'm not saying this is not important, but we are going where, as the left here in Romania, we are going where the financial power wants us to go. Okay, yeah. And we are not able to be those that set the agenda, and that we are not being able to discuss with union leaders, with workers, with people who are disenfranchised, poor. And of course, they go for these elements because they are scared. And as I discussed with Albena Asmanova, when they are scared and there is so much precarity and they are uncertain and they don't know what they are going to do tomorrow, the idea that now their only place where they can feel safe, the family, is being under attack, and they go nuts, because they have no other point of reference. Their lives has been torn to pieces, and now they have this thing like tradition, family. They hold on to this.
The only thing they have.
This is the only thing they have. So I would not laugh at these people. This is a tragic situation, actually. And the fact that they put their hopes in these crooks, this misogynist, these hateful people that are truly deranged and have a sexual problem, okay?
Mm.
When you start your political program by saying what type of union of sexes is okay,
Sorry.
well, you know, sometimes in our program, I'm thinking about inviting some specialists in human sexuality, because this is what it is. Okay, we have a problem with that. We have really deranged people that want to say what type of union of sexes is okay, and they
but also
their political program, and they win elections.
Yeah, but also I want to say here one thing, that this is, in most cases at least, that's my observation, okay? That in most cases, at least in Poland, for example, this is just cynically used. I mean, some people, the supreme leader, as I like to joke about him, Jarosław Kaczynski, who's just a dictator of the internal political process in Poland, he's using this sort of instruments, this sort of leverages in a very cynical manner, because he himself doesn't give a damn, okay, about whatever sexes are united in whatever way. It's just that, they understood something. And I think that's why that refers to what you said about the left, that the left cannot win, because the left, regardless of their incapacity or ignorance, and there's a lot of incapacity and a lot of ignorance on the left, like not only in Eastern Europe, but globally. I don't want to, start the discussion about this right now. But what I want to say is that, regardless of everything, the left does not inspire people, and this is a very, very problematic thing. And even in the healthier times, like healthier in a way that we didn't have such a misery and such alienation that would have derailed people to an extent that they start voting for these nutcases. Even then, the left hasn't done anything, and even now, the left doesn't seem to be doing anything inspirational. And this is, I think, the kind of populism that I would like to see the left exercising. They are not doing that. And now there's, again, there are many reasons, but this is a very, very problematic thing for us. And I think we should discuss that, because, you said it yourself, and I totally agree with you, despite, being a leftist and with, throughout my political life, I've always been a leftist pretty much. Since the age of 17, and it's after 20 years of activism, or more than 20 years of activism, we come here to conclude that nothing depends on the left, and the left cannot really be any sort of let alone cure, but even a point of reference. It cannot even be a point of reference, because the left is so unable, okay? The left is so detached, and so on and so forth. So I think this is something that the left should look at very carefully. In a way, why are these people there in the parliament right now? Those that you just described, the nutcases, the absolute, deranged people in whatever way, psychologically, sexually, or in whatever way, right? So they are there, and we are not. Okay, this is a very, very serious question. And also, when you look at what you said, when we take into consideration everything that you said in the first part of the program about how all the parties are really right-wing, because when you look at the Social Democrats, okay, they are prepared to give some social concessions, but in fact, in the final aftermath, when you analyze it, when you take into consideration all their stance on many issues, they are pretty much a right-wing party. Which is, again, not a great surprise. You can easily compare it to the Socialist Party in Bulgaria, for example, which is a right-wing party with a right-wing program, in fact. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that everything is right-wing. Okay, everything is right-wing. Like the mainstream the political mainstream is right-wing, plus the political the fringes, okay, of the political process, like this our party, that are now entering the mainstream, they're also right-wing. Everything's right. So, it should be really a favorable thing for the left, because the left, one would think, right? You would think that the left could really stand out because just
not
showing.
go for, I mean, I think it is very, very difficult. I mean, times are very, very bleak, and they develop methods like they didn't have those methods in 1917 when the Bolshevik Revolution appeared. Now you have the secret services, you have infiltrated people, you have the corporate media. There are too many instruments of power. But someday, as I told you, like every bird dies singing their own song, its own song. Now, someday it will come, because any system has to fall. But as you said, I think it would be like a self-inflicted wound and nothing from exterior, because right now it is basically impossible and very, very, very difficult. We are, I think, outnumbered, outgunned, and infiltrated by secret services who just wait for the occasion to turn us against each other. And these are very powerful enemies, and we have to accept that this is the situation right now, which doesn't mean that we don't have to keep fighting.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, what I want to say here is that obviously in 1917 things were different than they are now, and the enemy was equipped with different sort of machinery, okay, in terms of propaganda, and the Secret Service was also there. By the way, the Tsarist Okhrana, I think, was like one of the most one of the most efficient, okay, secret services. And there was a lot more violence against left-wing activists at the time, like communist, socialists, and so on and so forth. Like many of them just faced death by just acting, okay, and politically. So on the one hand, of course, I understand that times are difficult and that it's difficult for the left to actually get a ground to stand on. That's true. But on the other hand, just looking at for example, the Polish left. Obviously, I'm not an expert in Romanian affairs, but the Polish left, they had multiple chances that they've lost, and they are losing. They keep losing right now, just because they are afraid to take the step further, in a way that they are afraid to go populist, to cross the line, to cross the boundary of decency and seriousness, as they refer to it. So that's something that's going to kill them eventually, or is going to keep them as they are right now, like just an ornament, okay, just a kind of decoration on the Polish political system, which is going to be governed and managed by the right wing. So I'm sure that in Romania, like regardless of the situation, there are so many social causes and so many problems that you can base your campaign on. And I'm not talking about yourself individually, but about the left, the organizations that are on the left in Romania, and it's not happening. And obviously, one of the reasons is what you described, but the other reason is that people on the left, they feel completely disenfranchised. And there's also one other important thing, which I personally find to be the very fundamental element of our inability, is that many people on the left, particularly those that became the self-appointed leaders of many organizations throughout the last 30 years, they don't have they don't really have the hope, and they don't really believe in socialist program. Like, they've departed from the idea of changing the world.
I understand. You say we are self-colonized in a way.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like, but what I'm trying to say is that they've given up on it. Like, there's never going to be any change. There's nothing's gonna no major transformation is ever going to happen. That's what they think. Okay, and because of this, that frustration just is somehow not somehow, like organizationally, culturally, and in terms of political communication, is just transferred to the base. Or to those that used to support the left, and some of them in Poland, for example, now became the base of Law and Justice. Some of them became the base of the Civic Platform. One way or another, the left has done everything by the book, written by the new establishment after 1989, which means they surrendered everything for gaining pretty much nothing, or for gaining something that is just symbolic. And this is a very big problem. Maybe we can, just discuss that some other time.
Yes, we'll discuss this some other time, because we've been talking for an hour, so.
Right. Well, okay. So, Maria, I want to thank you for this in-depth analysis. This is fascinating, like sad as it is, because it's very sad. Like the picture of Romanian politics is very sad, and unfortunately, the answer to the question that I posed, announcing our program, can the assholes be voted out? It seems like they can't be voted out, at least for the moment. I want to thank you for describing in detail all the most important political actors, plus this detailed description of the leadership of this crazy right-wing sect called Our. This is really fascinating, but at the same time, I want to say that it's really, really dangerous. I mean, we live in this kind of new culture where everybody is laughing at it, like all kinds of political arguments are translated into memes, and that's funny, that's true. But on the other hand, it can really, bad things can really happen, and once bad things start happening, like they happen in Poland, you can have the memes, but things are really, really dangerous, like in Poland or in Hungary, where you have these authoritarian right-wing Catholic fundamentalists, in the case of Poland, regimes. Okay, so fingers crossed for some kind of occasion for the left, for the serious left, for the consistent left to actually intervene, because we live in very turbulent and turmoil times, globally speaking. So with all these global misunderstandings and intrigues and stuff like that, maybe maybe something's gonna happen. Maybe something's gonna crack.
We have some interesting messages here. God bless Poland and Hungary, and death to the EU. Martins come will. Oh, this is such a nice touch.
Yeah, well, that's the times we live in. That's the times we live in. We like all our best to all people fighting Marxism, cultural Marxism, and stuff like that. Good luck. Let's see how far you get with this. And it's always a pleasure, probably, to combat things that don't exist, like phantasms, straw man, and stuff like that. So yeah, again, and Maria. Anyway,
Romania great again.
Yeah, sure. What does it even mean? What does it even mean? I don't know. But well, anyway, thanks again, Maria, for the entire analysis, and thanks a lot to all our viewers that stayed with us today in the middle of the working week, and we wish you all the very best, and stay healthy, and be with us on Sunday, 3 p.m. Central European Time. Thank you.
Thank you.